Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to my Sunday morning podcast, I guess you'd call it, because we're not on the radio. This is Scotty Roberts. This is the Intrepid radio program, kind of. This is our ad hoc Sunday informal show, very informal. And this is something that we do on Sunday mornings for those of you who might be new and listening today. Normally, we are on Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Pacific Coast Time. Audrey, I almost said left coast, but I saw you were in the room. And of course, in Australia and New Zealand and Great Britain and all those English-speaking countries out there, as well as English-speaking people who listen all over Europe and the world. So I want to thank you for being here this morning. And this is informal, as usual. And this is my makeshift studio in my makeshift life in Louisiana. And so I want to welcome you here and say good morning. I'm just going to say hey to some people. Hey, Susie Q. Good morning. And Audrey, of course. Audrey with exclamation points. And who else we got in here? Matt Finn, Master Finn, good to see you. Glad people are coming in this morning. Hey, Delaney, good to see you as well. And Scott Allen, nice to have you guys in the chat room. I haven't looked in a mirror yet until I'm now seeing my mirror reflection in my camera. So pardon my unkempt state. I am not quite, I'm awake. I was up a half an hour ago, and Sam and I were just outside talking. Sunshine, bright, beautiful sunshine. It's going to be a warm day, a nice day. It's cool right now, so you throw on a sweater in the morning. And so we were talking, we started getting into a topic of great conversation. And I said, let me check my clock. I said, oh man, it's 9 o'clock. I'm supposed to be on right now. So here we are. So welcome to the show. Glad you're all here. Glad you're all streaming in. And I have no Raini yet this morning. It would still be a very makeshifty way of bringing her in. If indeed she's going to make it in this morning, we'll do what we did last week, kind of hold up the phone and say, hey, well, there she is. There's at least her picture. So you can see Raini's out there somewhere. And she's probably still in bed and has the kids crawling all over and making noise already. So she may be coming in. She may not. We'll see what's happening. And Sam and I were in a little bit of a discussion this morning. We were standing outside having coffee and watching the sunrise. Well, it was already up. Yes, I did hear from Ruben Matt, by the way. And I never heard what happened to him that night. I just wrote him the next morning, and he tried to call me at about 12:30 that night. Well, actually, it would have been whatever morning was the next morning, Friday morning, and or Saturday morning. I don't remember what day we were going to have him on, but he tried to call me about 2 hours after the show ended, and I couldn't pick it up. I was already half asleep, and so I heard the phone ring, and I didn't check it right away, and then I saw that it was Ruben. He called twice to try to get through, and so sorry, Ruben, out there. And I said, hey, sorry I missed you last night. Don't know what came up, but let's try again this next week. So one of these days, either tomorrow or Tuesday, we'll try again to shoot to have Ruben Fast Horse in here. So something came up. I'm not sure what it was. So Scott Lowry, good morning. Good to see you. Audrey has overcast skies, but it'll burn off soon. We have not a cloud in the sky this morning, which is kind of nice. And so sunny and 40 in Southern California. That's about the way it is right here, Scott Lowry. And hey, Teresa, good to see you. Welcome. Good morning. And so Sam and I were outside this morning, and I'd love to get your input on this. Now, of course, this is a theological topic, perhaps just a religious topic. Sam and I started talking about the Bible and some of the things in the Bible. And what prompted it was there were a couple of dogs running around outside, neighbors' dogs, and we were commenting on the dogs. And then we started talking about our old dogs, Sam and I. And as I've mentioned here before, my ex-wife, Sam's mom, and my girl's mom, we used to have black giant schnauzers back when we had the ranch. And that's interesting. Just another side note about the ranch, you'll hear me mention it. My ex-wife and I were buying that ranch, and then we got a divorce, and we sold it back to the old cowboy. And then several years later, let's see, that would have been in 2000 that the ranch went away. 2000. And then when Rainey and I were together back in about 2005, no, it was later than that, 2007. So 7 years later, I happened to be out in the precinct where the ranch was. It was a 40-acre ranch, horse ranch. And I was driving around the area, and the old cowboy, his name was Mac McGregor. And Mac McGregor, and he talked like that. He was an old cowboy from in his 70s, and he was from Wyoming, and used to rodeo ride and horses and all that all the time. And I saw him out on his wagon, and he was training a team of horses, just going up the side road out in the country. And I pulled over and I said, "Mac, how you doing?" And "How you doing, Mr. Roberts?" He always called me. And so we got to talking. And I said, we were catching up, It's a good thing you divorced that woman. She was a piece of, how did he say it? She was a piece of damaged goods. She was, and and we laughed. And so as we got to talking, I said, I love that old ranch. I said, I miss it. And he said, and he paused and he says, "Well, Mr. Roberts," he says, "weren't but two people ever done love that ranch, you and me." He says, "If you want it, it's yours. Let's work it out." I said, "You're kidding me." Now, I don't know what you guys can maybe think of this yourself, the internal ethics or the emotional baggage that comes with moving to a place that you used to be with your former. But so I brought Rainey out there, and we looked the place over, and we worked out a deal. And so we moved back out there it was late 2000, it was December of 2008. We packed up and we moved out there, and brought who was all there was Abby, Bryn, and Sam. And so we moved back out there, and the girls loved it because of the horses, and of course they were big horse fans, and they had their horses and they'd ride all over. But so we worked that deal out. But that when I was on the ranch the first time, we had a big black giant schnauzer, and so this was before Sam was born. And I was talking about how his name was Bo, and he was a big, beefy black schnauzer, and stood almost 30 inches at the shoulder. And so he was a big boy, and he was a great dog. And black schnauzers, the giants, they're referred to as giant schnauzers. Um, they're bred for police work, and they have innate herding capabilities. Herding, HERDYNG. And so I would have the little girls, Abby and Bryn. They'd be out running in the yard, and he'd run around them and keep them corralled into the yard and stuff like that, which was pretty cool, or the barnyard or whatever. And so Bo went missing one day out in the country, and he was gone for a week, maybe 2 weeks. When one day, and we looked for him and looked for him and looked for him. And one day, the neighbor farmer came over with his backhoe and the big bucket on the front, and he had Bo's carcass and Bo, he found him in a ditch in front of his farm. He had apparently been trotting down the road, the backcountry road, and somebody hit him and threw him into the ditch, and he was dead. And so he brought him back, and we took the carcass, of course, his body, and we dug a grave in the backyard, and we put him in the grave, and we pulled some timbers off the old wood pile, and about 8-foot timbers I had there, and 4x4s, and we leaned a triangle together over the top of that, and we hung something. I can't remember what we hung something from the middle and marked his grave. Well, the old cowboy Mac, he kind of criticized us for that. He was like, you're just burying a piece of meat there. You know, that's a dog. You just drag him out to the back 40 and let nature take him, or throw him in the garbage or something. You know, that's a dog. He doesn't have a soul like people. And I said, Mac, maybe he doesn't. And this is where Sam and I started getting into this theological discussion. And hey, Sterling, how you doing? Are you talking about me? I haven't washed my face or fixed my hair or anything. I haven't put on my face yet today. But thank you for that compliment if that was meant for me. And so we got into a discussion, Mac and I, about spirits, the animals, and do they have spirits and souls in accordance with Christian theology? And Mac likened himself to be a very liberated Christian and knew his Bible, and went to church every Sunday and read his Bible every day. And so we got into a discussion because he was kind of like, you're wasting that wood you're putting over that dog. It was on a scrap pile. That's why I grabbed it. I'm like, whatever. But he wanted to get his theological point across to me, that he believed that animals did not have spirits or souls. And so I sat down with him, and I went and I took my Bible. Now, this is, what would this be? This is back before Abby and Bryn. Let's see, were Abby and Bryn alive? Yes, they were. They were 7 years old, right in that time period. This is 22 years ago. And I sat with my Bible and I looked up. I said, let's just look up some passages. Let's see what it says in the Bible about animals and souls and spirits. And so I turned to the one passage where it talks about God knows the sparrows. And if I'm not mistaken, it says he knows the sparrows by name. And he says, and God grieves when one sparrow falls, God grieves in his heart, it said. Now, this, of course, you have to juxtapose this with all the other passages that say God was okay with Israel wiping out man, woman, and children to clean the land of the idol worshippers. There was genocide practiced in the Bible by the same God, which tells you something. You start comparing all of those and you say, this is a God that's okay with killing, that's okay with taking the lives of babies, like in King David's case, at least in the story, taking the life of the newborn child because he was bred by the king and Bathsheba in adultery and stuff like that. So I thought, so the life of that child was of lesser value for some reason. The lives of those people that were in those villages and those towns and those regions that Israel was to wipe out, their lives were less valuable. There was no sacred quality of life back then, which tells me that was a cultural thing. That was a man writing that and saying, we've got to wipe out our enemies. Those who do not worship our God the way we see him, we must wipe them out. Hey, Rocky Stucci, are you driving? I think Rocky is on his way to Texas with his family right now. Yep, driving but listening. Good to see you, Rocky. Glad you're here, brother. Miss you already. And well, I missed you before that. And Rainy misses you too. And so one of these days, I'm going to be just a few hours away from you now, where I am. So we'll have to get together. I'll have to come down to Dallas one of these days once we get things running really smoothly here. So this theological discussion took place. And what do you all think? I got a few vids of me firing that God. Joe, you're fired. Well, there you go. And here's the thing. If he's really the God who he says he is, that brings up a lot of questions about what is the nature of God as he's presented to us in the Judeo-Christian Bible. Now, many of you are Christian or Christianized, and you adhere to some of those precepts, those principles, and so on. But the big question is, Um, do you? I've got Raini is messaging me, so I may message her back. Hold on and keep your thought there. On radio, tell me when you can join us. I don't know why she forgets I'm on radio right now. Unless she just sent me a message because it was about something totally off topic. So in this discussion, and you look and in this discussion I was having with Mac, the old rancher, about whether or not animals have souls. I was going through and showing God's creation, and then there's that passage which we started to mention where it says, "There is not one sparrow that falls, but God grieves in His heart." And yet, and this is where we side railed and said, yet He didn't grieve in His heart over telling Israel to slaughter everybody, commit genocide. And as a matter of fact, some of these commands were, "You'll kill every man, every woman, every child, every animal. You will kill them and wipe them out of the land." And does that sound like God to you, or does that sound like mankind, creating their own rules and appropriating the blessing of God on their actions? Isn't that you think especially in ancient times and in medieval times and so on, every country that went to war, you could see them all praying on their side. God is with us. Let's go fight for God. God will give us our victory. And this side, God is with us. God will give us our victory. So when Israel was wiping out people in the land that were idolaters, isn't that the same thing that we decry in, say, extremist radical Islam, where they would cut off your head or they would kill you because you uh, fouled the name of Muhammad or Allah, and the things that we look at in current culture and politics, and we decry that. Yet, isn't that the same thing Israel was doing in the Old Testament? The same thing that God commanded them to do? Yet he grieved over the loss of a sparrow. A sparrow would fall, and God would grieve. And I know the principle of that passage was more, hey, if God grieves over sparrows, how much do you think he grieves over you when you die and so on? But if we die and our soul goes to his presence, wouldn't God be happy? He's like, hey, welcome home. Glad to have you. It's good of you to lose that meat suit and join us in energy here in eternal bliss. Yet there are these passages that seemingly in deep set principle tend to uh, render a lot of confusion over what God really believes. But back to the conversation with the old rancher, Mac. Well, God doesn't make animals with souls, So yeah, they animals die, and you just take care of it. And animals were very utilitarian to him. He was a rancher. He had horses. He loved his horses to a certain degree. His horses to him were utilitarian. I remember there was one day I saw him castrating or making a gelding out of a stallion, and he and a bunch of other guys had just roped together the horse. They forced him to the ground, rolled him over, and they put ropes around all his legs, and they were gonna cut out his nuts. They were going to castrate him, this stallion. And Mac took out his pocket knife, of all things. He wiped it with a little iodine out of a big bottle and poured iodine over the scrotum of the horse, who was all tied down on the ground. And he reached down with that pocket knife and he slid open the nut sack. He pulled out the nuts, cut them, and threw them out in the yard. And the dogs went after the nuts. So there you go. And then he sprayed him with a little more iodine and let him up. He went running out into the pasture. And I said, man, that was about the cleanest, most sterile operation I've ever seen performed. He says, they're just animals. He says, you cut them open, that's all they're going to do. I said, well, they probably numb their nutsack before they do that. I couldn't imagine. Guys, could you imagine the feeling of that? Somebody tied your legs and arms down and slit open your nutsack with a jackknife? and pulled your nuts out and cut them off and threw them to the dogs and go, there, you're now a gelding. It sounds like marriage, Pete said in the background. Woo! Sorry, women. There it is. So this is what happened there. And that's the attitude he had toward his animals. And so we had that discussion. I don't know that I convinced him of anything. You know, he's in his early 70s and set in his ways and his thinking. And but I thought this. Let's take a look at this from a different perspective. If you take and look at God as the way I have come to understand the God that was the God of my former religion, as the not the creator, but the originator of all that is, and that other aspects of God were other beings, rather than other attributes of the same originator, the same character. Would this God who created this glorious, beautiful creation of his, I use his because it's easy, the gender neutral deity in the sky, the originator, if he created things the way we see them and they're beautiful, you can walk outside and you can look at a bird, and we sometimes take it for granted. You listen to a bird song, you watch the sunrise, you go out in the country, you get away from the city and see the beauty of creation. If this originator indeed had any grieving bone in his incorporeal gender neutral body, mass, energy, logos, and he loved them and he grieved when they died, do you think that if he created a soul for man, that he created a soul for animals? Animals, fowl of the air, fish. Do fish go to heaven? That's a great title for a book that would explore some of these things. Do fish go to heaven? Do carp go to heaven? Do snakes go to heaven? Do worms go to heaven? I mean, that's all the theological junk that gets wrapped up in all this talk. And so let's say you've got an originator who loved his creation. Would that originator, if he grieved over the falling sparrow, would he gather them around him in soul form, that energy that goes on? Or is that energy just a nebulous thing that adds into the collective? So any living thing has a soul, says Macabre. Thank you, Sterling, for that. Hey, Sean Bowden, good to see you in the room. And so I started thinking about that, is that if God indeed loves his creation, God, the originator, let's use that, loves the things he was the source of creating, and he created them with a soul, would he gather them around him? Now, then you go back to the mythology of Adam and Eve. And remember when God formed Adam out of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul, the Bible says. So is it a soul or is it a spirit? This is where we talked kind of jokingly the other day about asking, are you a dichotomist or a trichotomist when it comes to theological stance, to your religion? Raini said she's ready, by the way. So let me finish this point and I'll bring her in. I'm going to just tell her stand by. Now, guys, remember, when I bring Raini in, it's going to be as ad hoc and makeshift and weird as this broadcast has been for the last month, because we aren't set up with a proper studio down here. And I have not taken the time to do the proper studio, by the way. I just haven't had the time to dedicate to it, or the money to dedicate it, to reset this thing up. So we're going to bring her in just on the cell phone, and I'm going to hold her up like this, and you're going to be able to see her. And we'll bring her in, and we'll see how the sound does. The sound's not perfect, but we'll get her in. Yay, Rainy, says Susie Q. Macabre says, God, how about the grand architect? Because the God of the Bible is the what bastard? The R.A. bastard? Oh, you retracted that. That's okay, Sterling. That was just a fine. She's going to go back to the office. She just messaged me. And so we'll bring her in from the office. But in finishing this point, would the creator, the originator, surround himself? Are you a dichotomist or trichotomist? I asked. Meaning, do you believe in dichotomy, dividing in half? Are you body and soul, or body and spirit? Or are you a trichotomist? You have body, soul, and spirit. If, according to the creation story in Judeo Christianity, God breathed into the first man the breath of life, and man became a living soul, did man already have a spirit like the rest of the animals? Because the Bible definitely talks about spirits. Now, of course, the position I'm taking, as you all know, talking about biblical belief. If you are a Bible believer, and what I mean by that is, do you find that the God of the Bible is the God that you worship, or the God that you respect or know or adhere to, and those teachings? Uh, Yet we see this vast difference in the nature and the character of God all throughout the Old and New Testament. But if the originator is there and he created everything, and he loves and he notices the sparrows that fall, and it grieves him in his heart, it says, as a descriptor for him, would he then surround himself with the spirits of those fallen animals? How many animals do you suppose grace eternity or heaven, or however you want to describe that? The presence of the originator. If you approach the throne of God, will there be birds singing or vultures hanging in the trees around him? Or, will there be lions roaring and dogs barking and all of that? You think of all the spirits of all the animals that have passed on, that have died over the millennia that this earth has been here. If there is an originator, do all those beings, all those spirits gather around? What's on my chin? That's my white whiskers, Macabre. Look at that. Is there something else there that wasn't supposed to be there? That's always been there. Sometimes it's a beard, sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it's a little narrow jazz strip, or a landing strip, ladies. Rainy, I mean. So let's move on. That's a question. I'm going to get Rainey's input on this. Let me see if I can raise her right now via my phone, and we'll do this little ad hoc, makeshift, stupid way to bring in a guest. But I don't have any other way to do it at present. That's coming, as I keep saying. So let's see. It's just going to require buying certain software I want to get, and so on. So let's see. Let's get Rainy in here. She's probably listening, so I think I'll be able to pick her up right now. Let me move my coffee over here, and we're going to get Rainy coming in any second here. Let me turn up my sound. Whoa! There we go. Hi, beautiful. Hello. Here, let me let the camera adjust your light, and so it picks you up a little better. All right, there. Look, folks. If you didn't see my hand shaking and moving, and if the microphone wasn't so bad, you wouldn't know that that wasn't a split screen. Here, it's not picking you up well, so I wanted to pick just you up so the light just. There we go. Their light is adjusted to Rainy. There we are. Good morning, beautiful. Morning. Whew, man! Wow. You're awesome. I am awesomely struck by your beauty. I'm struck dumb by your beauty, your radiance. So Teresa says, hello, beautiful. I don't know if you can see the chat room where you are up on the screen. And love you too, Macabre. Good. Thank you. Let's see. Maybe to stay in the here and hereafter is more of a personal choice than we think, says Matt. Maybe it is, Matt. So what do you think, Rainy? Do to the whole topic, because Sam and I were talking about this morning. What do you think of the topic of animals having souls or having spirits? And now, of course, it's all firmly ensconced within Judeo-Christian theology that we started talking about this. But if there is indeed, take the trappings of Christianity and Judaism off of it, of any religion, and I have come to the firm belief that I think there is an originator, and I've talked to you about all this before. I'm just setting context for you here. And if that originator is somebody who, in accordance with the Bible, in the Old Testament, it says, there is not a sparrow that falls, but he grieves in his heart. Yet this is the same God in the same books that talk about him willing to commit genocide on all the peoples of Canaan when Israel moved in there and wipe them all out, man, woman, child, every animal, kill them all. Does that mean he grieved in his heart over them and so on? Let's move past that, though. This is all, I think, theological speculation. And so I want to ask you, what do you think? You had a little dog, that Mocha, who passed away, who died many years ago, over 10 years ago now, 12, 13 years ago. And you had her cremated, and her ashes still sit in a box inside a red velvet bag. And that little thing about crossing the rainbow bridge and so on, all the ways. Is this just a way that we assuage our own grief? Does everything die and that's it? You never see them again. You'll never encounter. They don't go anywhere. There's no God. There's no originator. There's no whatever. I tend to believe there's an originator, and if he doesn't, he, they, it, gender neutral, deity, nebulous thing in the sky. If that, the great spirit, as Reuben would say, and Macabre is ready to go to bed. It's 12:34 a.m. there in Osaka, over there in Japan. And so guts to go to bed, buddy. Catch the rest later. Thanks, Macabre. Good to see you. Sterling, good night for you. And so I wanna get your take on that, Rainey. What do you think about animals dying? Is there a God, an originator that would surround himself with the spirits of those things?
Spirit of those things. That's a weird way to say it. Why are you making me think this morning? I didn't sleep well.
Because it's morning. I'm sorry you didn't sleep well.
I don't know. I don't think creatures are soulless. I think everybody goes somewhere. I think we all go to the same place. You say surround yourself. I don't feel like we go off somewhere to live with a god.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do they become part of the, as some would say, the great energy, nebulous energy, all the personalities merge together and become part of this great energy in the sky? Do you think we have individuality after we die?
Yeah. I think we still, we're not all one the same. Never have we all been one and the same.
Right. One of my, believe it or not, this is a real question, as tongue-in-cheek as it will come across. Will you still have great boobs in the afterlife?
I don't know that there's sexuality in the afterlife, but
see, that's
maybe.
Disconcerting. That's disconcerting. Is there sexuality in the afterlife? So, is there great beauty in and I say this with all candor and all genuineness, is there still the beauty of the naked female body, or of a female form, or a male form for you ladies?
God, you are a horny old man.
Yeah, I can't help it. I'm just curious about that. What does everybody think about that? Is there still... Okay, while she's doing her thing, let me ask you guys in the chat room and listening. Do you think is there sexuality or sensuality in the afterlife? Or are those only things that come with us as meat sacks, as humans, as animals? that reproduce? Is that only for reproduction? Are those things? I'm looking for a serious answer about that, guys. What do you think? And not just what do you think? It's she'll come back in and then I'll hold this back up. You agree with Raini, Teresa? Oh, she's back. Here, let me readjust.
Ellie was out there yelling, "Wash the grapes!
Wash the grapes."
You're already washing a bowl on the table. Just eat them."
I do that every day in the shower. So, let's see. Delaney says, "I'm telling you, Scotty, you and Rainey need an OnlyFans page." Oh boy, Rainey does, maybe not me. So,
I don't know if I could have one of those pages and still continue to be a scout leader. So.
Oh, you just don't tell them. Well, yeah, it's because all the other guy scout leaders would be looking it up. Sorry if any of you guys are listening. Hey, it's a way to make money. So, I know some people who make $600 to $1,000 a month on their OnlyFans page. That's like maybe I can show my man boobs on my OnlyFans page and earn money. Yeah, yeah, there it is. Totes, as Rainey would say to me. So I can. Teresa says, by the way, Teresa says those so-called, let's see, those so-called things are every bit as much our brothers and sisters as we humans are, in my opinion. And I can agree with that, Teresa. Are they brothers and sisters, or are they? Do you think the originator, in accordance with some of the early mythologies in Judeo-Christianity, the Adam and Eve, let's go to that story, breathed into humans the breath of life and man became a living soul? This goes to the question, are we comprised of body and soul alone? All animals, all humans, and everybody? Uh, or are we comprised of body, soul, and spirit? So would animals be body and spirit? Humans, body and spirit, but the difference with humans is the originator placed in them a living soul, which makes them trichotomous. That's a trichotomy way of thinking. And what gives humans logic and reason and the ability to I don't know. We see ants will build ant hills, and they have instinct that does that by nature. What animals out there do you see? And I use this as an example in one of our shows last week, talking about consciousness. How many animals do you see? Oh, I don't know. Building a courthouse so that if you have a dispute with your fellow beaver, you can take him before the beaver judge, and the beaver will render his judgment and throw you in beaver jail. Do you see that amongst the animals? Do you see birds doing that? Are there great councils of birds? Where are the libraries of the animal kingdom? The great storehouses of animal knowledge, where you can go down one hall and this is the sparrow aisle, and you can see all the written knowledge. Do animals have written language? So there's a big question for everybody. What gives man consciousness, or gives mankind, humans, what gives us reason? What gives us rationale? What gives us the ability to hate and to kill? When animals kill, why do they kill? Territory, food. I saw a great meme. I saw a great meme the other day where a coyote is crunching on the head of a squirrel and his eyes are popping out, and it said, to all of those of you, all you vegans out there who won't eat meat because it kills the poor animals, tell that to this coyote. And he's like, yeah, I love animals. Crunch, crunch, munch, munch. And so Matt Finn says, I believe spirit and soul are the same, only different forms. A soul is an embodied spirit. Nature. So there you go. So what goes on when we encounter some of you who are in ghost hunting and paranormal investigation? When we have encountered things that we say, I just think I heard a cat meow or a dog bark on this EVP, or I've photographed, a ghost, a spirit dog or a spirit animal. walking. What do you think that is? Is that the souls or the spirits of animals that have passed on before us? Somebody's favorite cat? Sean says the damn coyotes kept me awake last night. Yeah, we used to have the coyotes and the raccoons would raid our chicken coop at night. And so, what are your thoughts on that, Raini? I'll let you take over. You take over. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
What do you think about the whole animal spirit and soul thing?
I think animals have spirits and souls.
Okay.
I do. They're not soulless creatures. I don't think they have the same ability to be as complex as we are.
Yeah.
But they still have feelings.
Hey, I got a quick question for you. Oh.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your hair. Put your head down a little bit. Let me see the top of your head. Did you color your hair or is that just the light hitting it?
Did.
You did?
I had 7 inches cut. I had 7 inches cut.
When did you do that?
Thursday?
Oh, you didn't say anything about that. So you got your hair colored. I see streaks of like blonde in your hair or light.
When you looked at me and said, "Do you notice anything different about me?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, you shaved your face."
Yeah.
Seriously? You don't notice anything different?
I do notice it different. It's so hard to get a hold of you without kids all over you and bugging you. Holy cow, look at that. Show me more. Show me the length. Stand up and show me the length again. Wow. And you got some streaks put in it. So if I were there, I would have noticed right away if I were there. I've seen you with your hair pulled back and under a hoodie for the last 3 days. So whichever, stocking caps, whatever. Tell me the last substantive. When's the last substantive conversation we had that wasn't talking about money or talking about kids bugging you? And yeah, that was on the phone. I didn't see you yesterday, so I missed it. Now I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the streaks. I like it. Looks fantastic. I thought it was just the light on this phone. So yeah. Well, they live there with you. So yes, folks, seeing my wife is sometimes incredibly difficult these days. I don't like the distance thing. And when she finally has time to talk to me unhindered by children, she's so worn out, she's sleeping. So I love your hair. I love what you did with it. So not that I'm controlling. I don't need to know that you go get your hair cut. I just didn't know you did it. So anyway. Yes. It was for the what?
It was even cheaper than going to the beauty school this time.
Oh, where'd you go?
So Split Ends.
Split Ends. Is that in New Richmond or Stillwater?
It's over by BP.
Okay.
It's here in town.
Okay, cool. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. You look beautiful.
Great.
I love your hair. Stand up again and show us your hair. I like the way it's all wavy now down at the bottom.
It's there's wavy. I sleep in the parade.
Now there's my wife's beautiful hair. Look at that. I love her hair.
Still not just like
yeah.
It is shorter.
It's just curled differently. So there you go, folks. There you get the revelation of my wife's hair to me. It's makes for great radio. So
I don't like grassy color that's in it.
So I think it's kind of cool. So let's see what some people are saying here. Teresa says, I know for sure I was a dolphin, LOL, and I know I've been a wolf, and I know I've been various types of birds, LOL. Now, Teresa, people would listen to that and go, you're nuts. But that's people who don't have any. Yeah, there you go. Raini called it. Well, she prefaced that by saying, well, now this might sound crazy, but I've had visions of myself as animals in the past. I don't think that's so far-fetched.
I remember, pretty sure I know one of my past lives, and
Is this one that you told me?
yeah.
Share it with us.
Well, as dumb as it is, I really think that I was somebody, some military something in World War II. Because I have so many memories of World War II stuff that started when I was young, and just history. When the History Channel came out on cable, it was like, oh my god, I could watch it, and I knew everything. It was weird.
I know when I first met you, you had all these books on Hitler and the Third Reich, and reading up about all that stuff.
Yeah.
Not because she was a white supremacist, but because she was interested in the history. I think that's where
very interesting.
That's where your interest may come from.
Yeah, and I almost feel like there was a pilot, but I don't know that for sure either.
Karen Steele says Raini's getting the spring style ready. Love it.
Yeah.
I love my wife's hair. I got to tell you, I mentioned it the other night to you guys. When I first met her and she had this thick, full mane like she does now still, of dark brunette hair. And it was like, wow. And so I love what she does with it.
Yeah, and it was wow.
Yeah, it was wow. It's still wow. Audrey says the big kahuna has risen from his slumber and wants to grab some malasadas for breakfast. I'll keep listening as long as I can. What's a malasada? Is that like a mimosa? Or is it a food group? Yeah, some weird fruit that you pick off the tree or dig it up or whatever. So Audrey's going to eat. Alan Stiles, Scotty Doo. You think faith in religion is lowering and individual spirituality rising? Yes, I do, Alan. And welcome to the show, by the way, Alan. I think we've seen this over the last couple of decades. Now people say, look, we're evolving. Well, you know what? I don't say we're evolving. Evolving maybe in the lightest sense of the word. If you think of evolution, evolution is mutation over eons to evolve into higher forms of species. So I don't see it so much as an evolution as we're evolving along the way and maybe evolving our teachings, involving the faith that we accept and all of those things. So yeah, I think we're moving away from organized religion and faith in organized religion, going more toward individual spirituality. Now, what does that do if you're a firm believer? At least come out of the camp that is firm believers in organized religion. What do you do with that? Oh, Audrey said it's Hawaiian fruit-filled donuts. Nice. Donuts. Donuts. So, awesome. Yum, says Audrey. So there you go. Teresa says that's cool, Rainy. So tell us some more. I don't know if she's talking about your hair or faith beliefs or religious beliefs. So how many of you out there, I know a lot of you out there, by the way, that are firm believers in spirituality as opposed to developing individual spirituality rather than corporate religious faith. How about you, Rainey? Oh, I think she's talking about your past life thing. What do you got there? What you working on? Derby cars. Hey, do you have those Egyptian books done yet? Those journals?
No.
Oh, okay.
Last day I worked last week, so I missed the last test track day, or not last. I missed the last one, but today is the last test track day, so I have to
Roger Rabbit.
get the cars. Get the cars done.
Oh yeah, because Derby's coming up. I keep seeing emails on it.
Yeah, Derby's on Saturday.
What kind of cars is everybody making this year? Won't be there to help anybody decorate cars.
I know. I'm doing it. There's paint everywhere. Really nice thing about having cold and not smelling
Yeah.
Because I've spray painted a few times in the bathroom and I can't smell it.
You just get to experience the fumes internally without being able to smell them. That's kind of cool. You can snuff
Right?
without having to smell it. Oh,
So
very
here's
nice.
Ellie's car.
That's Ellie's car. Very nice. Got to put the axles and the wheels on.
And I'll do that when I get over there today.
Sorry about that. I dropped you. That's always good for the
I did not
keyboard.
have time to actually polish the colored wheels that the kids wanted. So I'm just going to use our old wheels from the past years.
Get your, the light from the phone to focus on it better and adjust. There we go. We're breaking away from traditional religious practices and getting a better understanding of our original spirituality, said Teresa. Sean Bowden says, I've never been a religious person, but I do believe there is a God. I just don't know who he is or who it is. There's a big question I have for you, Teresa, while we're talking about derby cars for scouts. Here's a big question. We're breaking away from traditional religious practices, you say, and getting a better understanding of our original spirituality. Well, how do we get in touch with our original spirituality? How do we know? Here's a question, and maybe you'll have a different answer for this. How do you know that what we think is our original spirituality actually is? Or is that just something we continually develop by ourselves? Just as ancient peoples developed Judaism and Islam and Christianity amongst the world's great religions. How do we know which religion is something that really reflects our innate spirituality? Or is our innate spirituality something we're supposed to create by ourselves? And then the big question, are there any rules to that? Is there anything that says, well, this doesn't count because it's not real, this is real? How do you gauge what is real versus what is in the ramblings of my imagination of what I want to be? What are you smiling about over there? You're laughing about. Oh, okay. Yeah, we watched. So I'm just trying to get the light to adjust your phone to the phone screen. And it won't this time. It will eventually. So certain scriptural or recorded written truths, Matt, says Teresa. I think mostly those dating back to pre-religious societies. Matt Finn says, I do believe aspects of many religions to be accurate. I view them as regional understandings of the beyond. But then let me ask this, okay, everybody? Raini, you included. How do we gauge the things that we think about or feel or muse about or try to define? What is it, just our own comfort levels we come to about belief systems? So in essence, we're just creating the things that make us feel good. Are we creating things that the old New Testament authors said would tickle our ears and they make us feel good about who we are? Do we have proofs? We have certain people who say, like Akashic records, all of that stuff. How do you quantify or qualify any of those things? This is the thing. You can say, well, I know a guy who's been there and he's seen it all. Well, how do we know to trust that guy? What makes him different than an Apostle Paul or a prophet Isaiah or any of these in Judea or a Mohammed? What makes them different? Having this discussion the other day with somebody. We went to one of our customers gave us a little cookout last night. And we were talking about this stuff. And I wrote about it in some of my books about how Muhammad, when he created Islam, damn it, keep dropping my phone. I don't know why I'm doing that, but there, I've picked it up again. Muhammad, when he created Islam, he created it out of whole cloth. He was an aristocrat. He was looking to unify the Arab. See, look, I don't know why I'm dropping my phone all of a sudden. 3 times in a row now. I'm just not I get lazy the way I'm holding it. That's what it is, and I drop it. So why did Muhammad do what he did? He had a mentor who was a Christian man and a mentor who was a Jewish man. They pretty much told him, if you want to unify the clans, the different tribes, you're going to have to go monotheistic in your religion. So he took the 290 plus gods at Mecca or in Islam and reduced them all to spirit beings or demons or angels in his own theology that he wrote. And he elevated the chief god, I think he was Hamal, to the status of the one and only true monotheistic God in charge of them all, and renamed him Allah. So, in essence, he, in a nutshell, created Islam out of whole cloth. Who revealed that to him? Who told him that? Or was it a practice of human anthropology? Moses did the same thing. There was no codified Jewish religion until Moses codified it. And it said, there is one God, there's this and there's that. And so all of these questions come up. Who creates the religious practice or the spiritual belief? How do we know where that comes from? Is it all just then personal experience? Because Raini may have her own religious or personal spiritual experience. I may have a different one than her. Teresa may have a different one. Matt, a different one. So Teresa says there's enough evidence worldwide across all societies to understand that there was once a group consensus on a basic, fundamental, underlying group of principles and early beliefs. So would that be a group of teachings or morals or laws or rules that everybody practiced? If there was a consensus, who started the consensus? Was it a God figure that came down and manifested? Was it somebody who said, I've had a vision from the gods? And everybody goes, yeah. Half of the people go, okay, he had a vision from the gods. Ooh. The other half go, I don't know about that. Which gods? What if I don't like what he has to say? How do I know that he really met with the gods? Look at even the people when they left Egypt in the Exodus in the Bible. Moses went up in the mountain and they're like, where'd this guy go? They weren't Jehovah worshipers or Elohim worshipers. They had Aaron build a golden calf. Let's worship. That's the God that took us out of Egypt, this calf. And so who was right and who was wrong? Then what did Moses do? He came down, he smashed it. When he found out the people were worshiping it, ground it all up into a powder and mixed it into the water and made people drink it. Now, was that a form of ancient mouthwashing, which used to exist in ancient, when worshiping certain ancient deities? I don't know. Alan Style says their mistakes were turning on the individual's spiritual practice into a uniform religious belief. I think you've hit on something there, Alan. Taking individual religious practice or even consensus of village practice people and turning that into something that's now the rules. Matt Finn said, I would agree, Alan, perhaps it wasn't intentional. Well, Teresa says exactly, Alan. Well, that's what happens. We get a group consensus about something and we say, this is the way, this is the way. And we decide that that's the way we will corporately worship the gods of our village, the gods of our crops, the gods of the rain, and the sea and the weather and whatever. And we codify that or codify that, if you will, code. We encode it. We codify that belief, and that becomes the mainstay of what we say we believe. And are you listening right now? What do you think? What do you think, Go Derby Car Builder? Yeah, I did. Teresa says, no, you're right, Scotty. You can't quantify it or even qualify it if it was a belief system based on the thoughts and feelings and consensus of the earliest societies. Yeah. Matt says, we'll never know because we don't have the mentality of early humanity. Karen Steele, welcome, Karen. She says, our power is within and as a collective. And so that would be, Karen, you're saying the power, the deity, if you will, resides in us. We create the deity. Is then the deity a in a sense, a glorified tulpa, has deity or God or divine presence? Has that evolved out of something we have created out of our consciousness? And because we collectively, as a consciousness, together create this thing, we say that if we have collective,
A lot of big words.
do we create? In other words, do we create gods out of the way we think? And if
Yes.
we have, because you see all these things. Let's have a prayer movement around the world on Saturday, April 20th. We're gonna have a prayer around the world. Let's manifest, or we're gonna think about this thing. We're all gonna concentrate on this specific day. That's the power. Is that the power of it? God damn it! There, see, I've just asked God to damn my phone because I keep telling him, there's every. See, I can't hang on to my phone, and I don't know why. It keeps slipping out of my hand. I need to put a harness around my hand or something. There's my little Ellery. How you doing, Ellie? Hi, good morning. Are you gonna put streaks in your hair like Mom? That would be pretty on you. You got anything to say this morning? Oh, hey, where do you think? Let me ask you, Ellery, a serious question. Where do you think we came from? Where do we come from? Where did you come from? Where did you come from? Where where did you come from? You're not telling? Do you think you know? What makes you alive? How did you become alive? Can you think about that even? Do you even understand what I mean? Yeah.
She came from me.
Oh, you came from Mom? Is Mom the creator? Did Mom create you? Hey, MSC. Everybody, if you don't know, that's my littlest one. She's the 6-year-old. That's Ellery the pistol. Ellery, the boss lady of the world. Ellery, the queen of the world, undisputed. What? What'd you tell me? Pipsqueak. So, she listens to her mom too much. Shut up, Dad. So, let's ask a little kid sometime, where'd you come from? See what they say. And if you notice, very few of them lapse into spirituality. Where'd you come from? My mom and dad. I came from my house. No, how do you think? Where did your thinking come from? School. So I love your car, by the way. That's a great looking derby car, child. I love it. I love the bun on your head. Should we bake it and put butter on it and feed it to the dog? Yum. No, it's too beautiful. You're beautiful, baby. I love you. And so you ask a little kid where they came from, they're going to give you practical answers. When does a little kid recognize that there is maybe something higher than they are as far as deity in the cosmos? What? Oh, she's adding her.
People say her tongue is long.
Your tongue is long. Let's see how long it is. Holy cow. Can you touch your toes with it? Is it that long? She's a beautiful child, says Teresa. Yes, she is. I agree with you. John Senecal. Welcome, John A. Senecal. The importance of a belief in God is to reserve the only right we have left, Magna Carta, that all men are created equal, preserved, not guaranteed by the Constitution, no God, and no common law. I need to unpack that, John, for a second. The importance of a belief in God is that it allows us, are you saying, to reserve the only right we have left? Magna Carta, we can believe in God. That's a beautiful, beautiful derby car, Ellery. And you went on and said that Magna Carta, all men are created equal, preserved, not guaranteed by the Constitution. I think our Constitution only guarantees us corporate rights. It's a corporate recognition of the rights of humans. And so we have a constitution that we've written that says it's not determining what or who your deity is, that constitution. It's written to express what rights that as a corporate society of laws we recognize and will defend and guarantee. The Constitution only guarantees so far as the law can uphold it. So no God, no common law. There you go. Yeah, because our Constitution isn't the same as another country's Constitution. Teresa says, Michaela, where'd that go? Was 4 years old and she said she came from the star people. I'm like, what star people? And she says, all the stars are star people. I don't know where she got that from. I was going to ask you, where'd she pick that up? Is it like Pumbaa and the Lion King? You know, he believes all the ancestors are in the stars. Some religions believe that, or faith. True Divine, Jennifer, welcome, yeoman. Says hi, everyone, just popping in. Say much love to Captain and Raini and all. It's nice to see you. Hello, says Raini. I noticed that the mic doesn't always pick up the phone very well, so Raini said hello. Teresa says, I will go outside while she was playing in her little fairy garden, and she'd be sitting there on the ground staring up at the sky, always thinking of space and seeing beings in the clouds. This child wasn't seeing kangaroos and teddy bears either. She was seeing and describing otherworldly beings in her little mind. And her parents did not watch sci-fi. Well, let me ask you, is that the product of being tuned in spiritually? Or do we secularize that and say that is the product of a wildly phenomenal imagination? This is a very creative person. There's a good question. Bang, drop the phone again. Yeah, that is the handicap of doing this show this way, by the way, folks.
I'll let you go because I got some stuff I should be doing.
Okay, everybody, Raini is going to take off. She's going to, this is, oh, is that Flynn or Rowan back there? Hey, Flynn, how you doing, son? I was just talking about you with Sam this morning. So good to see you, boy. I love you. I miss you. He's the hardest one to communicate with, to get a hold of. There you are, my boy. Hey, good to see you. Let's see your car so far. Show us your derby car. Matt Finn says, hope you and the boys are doing well. Oh, that might not have been for me. That was for Jennifer, I think. There you go. There's his car so far. All right, Flynn. I can't wait to see it decorated. Yes. Oh, I didn't see it all.
It's just shiny gold.
Just shiny gold. Oh, it's gold. I thought that was natural wood color in the light over there. So there's Flynn's. Flynn, I'll talk to you a little later. Ellery, I'll talk to you later. And Rowan, where was she? Bye, I love you too. Raini, I love you. All right, thanks for joining me on here with everybody. Everybody says goodbye and so on and so forth. All right, see you later. I love you. And there you go. She loves me. Bye. I'll let you sign off. What was that? Boom, she's gone. There you go, folks. There we got Raini in an unconventional makeshift way in our unconventional makeshift studio here in our unconventional makeshift podcast for Sunday. I want to remind everybody who's in here that we have Monday through Friday, if you don't know this already, the official Intrepid radio program. And that will air starting tomorrow night through Friday night. 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Pacific Time. And over where Jennifer, my yeoman, is in over in England, that will be at what time? That'll be about 3 in the morning for you on Monday. And in Australia, it'll be about 2 the following afternoon, all live. So we go around the world. We get around with this show. So, yeah, Doug Stack, how you doing? Did I see you earlier, Doug? Did I miss you? Good to see you, brother. And Delaney says Ellery is a trip. Her new name is E-Trip Scotty. There you go. She is. She's the undisputed queen of the universe, by the way, in case you didn't know that. Bubbles, says Teresa. Bubbles L Trip. There it is. Displaced but official, says Matt Finn. 3 a.m., says Jennifer. True Divine. Glad to see you here. Nice to see you in here. I hope everything is going well for you. And guys, contact True Divine 44. That's Jennifer. If you want a reading done, she is very good at what she does, and so you can get a hold of her. As a matter of fact, Jennifer, if you have a contact that's the best contact for you, an email or a website, throw it up in the chat room so people can see it and they can get a hold of you. She does fabulous tarot readings, and she's very good at what she does. Working hard, Captain, she says, keeping the ship afloat. Well, that's good. That's about all any of us can do these days, it seems, is keep the ship afloat. Like physical family time, says Doug Stack. Indeed. So I think we have pretty much exhausted the topic, unless anybody has anything to add about talking about animals and spirits and deities. And I've come to this, maybe this is the pragmatist in me, the realist in me, when it comes to God. And you've heard me talk about this with Rocky, with Motherella on radio, in my own show. I sometimes struggle very hard to latch onto something to believe that is outside the pragmatic. I can touch it, feel it, taste it, hear it, converse with it, and that makes it solid. And I'm not talking about the variants of that. Well, you can converse in your mind and your heart. You can sit in nature and commune with nature. I'm not talking about that. Because if nature starts talking to me, first of all, before I pee my britches, I'm going to say, who said that? So it's a different kind of communing. And I know it's on a different level. But is that a state we put ourselves in because our minds have the ability to do that? And therefore we create the divine? Or is it something that exists external to us or external to our collective group that believes a certain way? So there it is. I like to say I believe in an originator. But my belief in that originator is substantiated by what? My mind, my ability to put faith in that belief that I have struck up. I create my own deity. I create the way I think God is. I speculate, which is all I think some of these Old Testament writers were doing. And when it comes to Judeo-Christianity, which is all I think Islam was doing, or Muhammad was doing. So one day we'll all know for certain, but before then, it's awesome to question and think about. Yeah. And wouldn't it be awesome to question and know? Why can't we know these things? Do you have to be dead from the meat sacks we live in now in order to find the answers to those questions? And will we really, even that next step out from corporeal bodies, will we actually have an answer out there? Or just become something else? Or we just morph into something? My son Sam was telling me the other day, for the first time ever, I heard from him how he believed in reincarnation and the soul's moving on to something new and something else. It's a big question. It's a good question. Well, folks, it's 10:17. I'm not going to go all the way till 11 today. I'm conversed out. I'm going to go take care of some things. We got a new camper in here that Sam and I are going to be moving over into a new camper where it'll be a little quieter, I think, a little less activity. So we got to go clean that up a little bit. It's a little older, but it's nice. Doesn't have all the high tech this one has, but that's okay. And so we're going to go take care of that. I think that's where he is right now. He's bleach wiping countertops and cleaning floors and things like that. And I want to get on that. So thank you, Alan Stiles. As I say, and I'll remind everybody who's here, Sundays is probably the most informal we do for a show. Monday through Friday is supposed to be a more formal radio show, but we're not broadcasting on Odyssey Radio right now simply because of the setup, trying to get that established. Maybe getting over into the new camper, getting the new setup over there is going to help us a great deal. I don't know if you can see this here. I'll switch the camera around here. But I'm sitting at this little table here on the bench here. I'm in the garage of in the camper. That's my bed up above us. I sleep in the garage. And then over there, you see that thing over on that bench. That's over there. And so over on this side is where I sit and broadcast. And I've got to set up my microphones and I got to get soundboards and all that set up. And I'll have a little more space to do that over there. So that's my makeshift studio coming to you from my makeshift life right now, away from my wife, away from my family, away from the standards of my life, if you will, the things I've established. So we'll see you back here again tomorrow. Yeah, there's a little behind the scenes action, MSC. That's right. It's not as glorious as people might think. So that's all I got for today. So let's move on. I will see you tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time sharp. And we'll be here with another episode of the Intrepid radio program, which is takes on a more informal stance because we're doing the live streams as opposed to the radio broadcast. So it'd be claustrophobia for me, Sister Teresa. Hey, it is for me too. Especially when you get, it's a gorgeous trailer, a gorgeous camper. It's huge. But you get 3 adult males in here. And Pete brought back a friend of his. So we had 4 adult males in this space last night. And that's why the new camper is here. Because we've got more guys coming on staff here. And we're all going to live temporarily out of these digs. And so Sam and I are going to go occupy that one. There's a couple of beds in a kind of a bunkhouse on the end of that one, where a couple of guys might come in and do some selling. And so there you go. That's my makeshift life, my makeshift studio, my makeshift show. So with 3 men, there'll not be enough room to swing a cat. Jennifer, we got 3 men in here already, and there's not room to swing a cat. That's why we go outside. We spend most of our time away from here. We come here to watch TV and sleep and do radio. So let's move on. That's enough of the end niceties and the little fineries and the discussing things about this, that, and the other. I will see you all. You have a good Sunday and have a great rest of your weekend. And I will see you tomorrow night right here. So, you know what? Live long and prosper.